सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां तपोभिः क्षीणपापानां शान्तानां वीतरागिणां मुमुक्षूणामपेक्ष्योऽयम् आत्मबोधो विधीयते. So we finished with the 52nd shloka last time. उपाधिस्थोऽपि तद्धर्मैः अलिप्तः व्योमवत् मुनिः सर्ववित् मूढवत् तिष्ठेत् असक्तः वायुवत् चरेत्. So he gives three examples here. One is vyomavath, like akasha. He is not affected by the upadhis, by the limiting factors. The Brahmaswarupam. So Brahman or the Jivan Mukta, he is not affected by the Deham or Sukshma, Sthula, Sukshma and Karana Shariram. Sarvavit Jnanaman, yet he stands like Moodhavat Tishthet. He stands like someone, a character like Jadabharadha in Bharata, in Bhagavatam, or all Puranas, even Vishnu Puranam has this section about Jadabharata, who is actually an Atmajnani. A king comes to meet him and they ask him to carry his palanquin and all that. So, Moodhavat Tishthet, they think he is a fool because he doesn't respond, he doesn't talk. Asaktaha Vayuvat Charet, he should keep moving around, but without any attachment. Very interestingly, in Vishnu Puranam, I think in the last class I saw this sort of a definition for Siddha. A Siddha Purusha. We say Siddhas, there are many Siddhas all over the world. So they are Gamanavat. They keep moving around Gamanavat, Parantu Gamanadishu Asamsargaha. They don't have an attachment to anything that they go to. So, Gamanam, where do I have to go? Is there a goal? What do I do when I go to this place? That sort of a trail of thought doesn't come for them, it seems. So that is a Siddha, whereas a Rishi, and they are Harshaprayam. That form is such that it completely revels in that bliss, Ananda. Whereas in contrast, a Rishi is more involved with his brain, Jnana Purvaka. So he goes with a studied academic approach is what a Rishi does. Whereas a Siddha is more an intuitive, instinctive person. Nice distinction that I saw. So here Vayuvat Charet Asaktaha. So they move around like Vayu, like the wind, but not attached to wherever they are going. Okay. Now, the next shloka, Asya munehe jivan muktasya agnya drishti pratiyamana prarabdha avasane videha muktim aha. So until now, the author was describing the jivan mukta lakshanam. Now he moves on to videha mukti. Videha mukti is where the body is completely merged with its elements and what happens to everything else. So upadhi vilayat, the moment the upadhi, this shariram is gone, vilayat, when it is moved, so upadhi vilayat vishnu nirvishesham vished munihi jale jalam viyat vyomni tejas tejasi va yatha. He gives 3 examples here also, udaharana, and he says just as how jale jalam vishet, there is a body of water like ocean, and water that flows in the form of nadi goes and enters into the water which is in the form of an ocean. You cannot separate the nadi and ocean. In the same way, jale jalam yatha vishet. The other example he gives is vyomni viyat. Vyomni akashe mahakashe. So vyoma, he takes it as the mahakasha, in which viyat ghatakashaha, something that is confined within the pot. The moment you break the pot, this akasha becomes one with the outside akasha and you don't see a difference at all between the two of them. Right? The next is tejas tejasi. Mahati agnau tejaha. Varti upadhikaha agnihi. So let's say Varti Upadikaha Agnihi. Varti is a wick in a lamp. So let's say there is a fire in a wick in a lamp. Varti. Varti is actually the thread that we use, right, to light a lamp. That is a wick. So that is called Varti. Varti eva upadhikaha asya agnehe. So an agni which has the wick as an upadhi, it goes and completely merges or enters within the Maha Agni, if there is a greater Agni. So you can say there is a lamp here and a forest fire starts. So the Agni from the lamp will just completely merge with the entire forest fire. So and you cannot see the difference between which part of that is the forest fire or what. So it completely merges with it. In the same way, tatha upadhi vilayat munihi Vishnu nirvishesham Vishnu nirvishesham yathasyat tatha vishet. So nirvishesham is or you can take it as nirvisheshe vishet. He gives that as nirvisheshe also. Probably there are two readings here. One is nirvishesham and the other is nirvisheshe. If it is nirvisheshe, then you take it as an adjective to Vishnu. Vishnu here does not refer to Shankha Chakra Gata Pani. It is Vishnu Vyapto. Vish Vyapane. So Sarva Vyapake Nishkriye Nissange Nirvisheshe Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swabhave Niratishaya Akhanda Anandaika Rase Pare Brahmani Munihi Brahmaiva Atmatvena Sada Manute Jnayate. Manute iti Munihi, one who is constantly thinking, contemplating. So the form of contemplation here is he keeps on thinking that Brahman is the same as the Atma. So that kind of a contemplation and a knowledge is present with this person. So Munihi refers to a person who is Brahmanishtha. He is established, well established in Brahman. Saha Munihi Upadhi Vilayat, when all of his upadhis, Sthula, Sukshma, Sharirayoho, Dagdha Patavat, Abhasamanayoho Vilayat. Until now, the Shariras are like a burnt cloth. Now it's a very beautiful expression. Let's say you lay out a cloth and then you burn that cloth. It will still, there will be a semblance of that cloth on the floor. But that is not of any use at all. The same way, this Sthula Shariram, Sukshma Shariram and Karana Sharira, they may just exist, but they are of no use for the Muni. Like this reminds, Dagdhapata always reminds me of Manmatha, who was burnt, and in the fourth sarga of Kumara Sambhava, Rati would just look at the ashes, which was in the form of Manmatha, and she would cry, saying, it is as if you are just lying there waiting for me to wake you up. So that's how she feels there. Dagdhapata is like that. It's of no use there, no matter what. So tatha stula sukshma sharirayoho dagdhapatavat abhasamanayoho. It is only an illusory appearance, like how a burnt cloth would just have the appearance of a cloth. The moment a light wind blows, the ashes are going to fly away. So vilayat, nashat, when the upadhi completely gets destroyed. In Vairagya Shatakam, if you look at the last shloka, he will talk about each one of the elements as a relative, just as how we have we exist with our relatives, thinking of this person as mother, this person as father, bhrataha. In the same way, he talks about his shariram and the mahabhutas as each one is a relative for him. Matar Medini, Tata Maruta. He talks of Medini Bhumi as his mother. Tata Maruta, father is wind. Sakhe Tejaha, the Agni is his friend, it seems. So Bhartrihari at that point, he says, all of you, Jala Bhrataha, Vyoma, Bhratar Vyoma, Subandho Jala, sorry, Matar Medini Tata Maruta Sakhe, Tejas Subandho Jala, Bhratar Vyoma Nibaddha Yesha Bhavatam Antyaf Pranamanjali. So this is the last Pranamanjali that I do for you. Antyaf Pranamanjali. I bow to you. Yushmat Sangha Vashopajata Sukritas Paras Puran Nirmala Jnana Pasta Samasta Moha Mahima Liye Parabrahmani. I completely merge myself with that Parabrahman. Parabrahmani Liye. At the end of it, you will actually feel that, he's saying goodbye to all of the elements which make up his Sukshma Shariram, and then says this Jnanam, with the Jnanam that has arisen. I did have a Sangha with all of you. Yushmat Sangha Vashat. Upajata Sukritam. I got a Punya Vasham because of you. Because of all this Pancha Mahabhuta and the Stula Shariram, etc. But then from that Sukritam arose one Jnanam, Nirmala Jnanam, which removed all of the delusions, moha that I had. And now I am completely merging myself with the Parabrahma. What a way to finish a text of 100 shlokas, It's a very powerful shloka that way. So here Upadhi Vilayat. As soon as that Upadhi goes away, a Muni Brahmaiva Atmatvena Sadayaha Manute Saha Brahmanishtaha Yatihi Vishnau Sarvavyapake, one who is all pervading. Nishkriye, the Brahman doesn't have any kriya, he doesn't actionless. Nissanga, who doesn't have an attachment. Nirvishesha, there is no difference. Bheda Rahitaha Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swabhavaha Niratishaya Akhanda Anandaika Rasaha, of the form of bliss. Satchidananda Swarupe Brahmani Nirvishesham Yatha Tatha. So he takes that Nirvishesham as a Kriya Visheshana, as an adverbial phrase here. I enter, Vishet, a Muni enters into that Brahman in a manner in which you cannot even see a difference between this Atma and that Parabrahma. Just as how a river goes and enters into the ocean and you don't see a difference. Nirvishesham Vishet. It would enter without, in a manner in which difference is not known at all. Difference is not seen. Jivan Mukta Padam Tyaktva, he lets go of that nomenclature of Jivan Mukta, one who is a Mukta, a liberated soul, while in this body. That name, that Samjna is gone right now. Swadehe Kalasat Krite, that which has been completely given to the to Kala. The Bhasmasat Kritam, Kalasat Kritam. That Satkrita, Sat is an Avyaya here, which connects with the Kritam to mean that it is completely handed over to Bhasma. So it has been completely handed over to Kala. So this Deham is gone, it is destroyed. And Vishati Adeha Muktatvam. So he enters the state of being a mukta, a liberated soul, without this sthula and sukshma sharira. Pavano spandatam iva ityadi shrutehe. I did not check that shruti. Pavano nispandata. Pavano spandatam. It's in Yoga Vasishta? Okay. Nice. Pavano spandatam. That's interesting. Tadeva anilatam vetti nijasattatmikam swayam antargata sparsha rasam pavanas spandatam iva. It's as if you can perceive the consciousness completely, can understand everything in that. Doesn't ring anything. Okay, I will just leave that portion and see if it makes sense in the context of this. So we'll go to the next section. This is a quotation from an Upanishad called Pingala Upanishad. Yatra yatra mrito jnani yenava kena mrityuna ghatakashavad akashe tatra tatra layangataha. Wherever a jnani dies, mritaha bhavet, whenever he dies, yena kena mrityuna, by whatever manner he dies, then what happens to him is he immediately dissipates and becomes, the body dissipates and the Atman becomes one with the Brahman, just like Ghatakasha, which completely merges with the Mahakasha. Yatha jalam jale kshiptam, when you throw one cup of water into another jalam. Kshire kshiram ghrite ghritam, when you throw milk into milk or ghee into ghee, no matter what, avishesham bhavet, it completely merges with the existing ghee and there is no difference at all. Tadvate, in the same manner, Paramatmanam Atmani ityadi Bhagavad-vachanacha. Obviously, because Upanishad also comes from him, he says it is Bhagavad-vachanam, Pingala Upanishad. So, in the same manner, in Atma, there is no difference between Paramatma and Atman, Jivatma. Yadyapi Jnani Brahma Veda Brahmaiva Bhavati Jnani tu Atma eva me matam इत्यादि श्रुत्यादि वचनात् स्वयत एव निर्विशेषं ब्रह्मैव तथापि उपचर्यते ब्रह्मणि निर्विशेषं विषेत् इति अज्ञजनबोधनाय इत्यभिप्रायः. The question here is very interesting. He says, even when he is a Jivan Mukta, the Jnani, and he is a Jnani, he is a knowledgeable person, at the same time he is also a Jivan Mukta, he is Atma. There is no difference there, because for him the Sthula Sharira and Sukshma Sharira have no special use for him right now. Dagdha Patavat. Then what does it mean when you say that when the Upadhi goes away, he goes and enters into Brahman? The concept of Vishati, entering itself, is it doesn't work at all. Right? It doesn't fit. The meaning doesn't fit properly. So, Yadyapi Jnani Brahma Veda Brahmaiva Bhavati. The Jnani understands Brahman and he becomes Brahman himself. Jnani tu Atma eva me matam. I think a Jnani is equal to Parabrahman. There is no difference between the two of them. Kintu Swatayeva nirvishesham brahmaiva, even though there is no difference between a jnani and the Parabrahman, tathapi, still, in order for people like us to understand, ignorant people like us to understand, agnya jana bodhanaya, for us to understand, we have to use words to say that, this person, when the shariram goes off, he enters into Brahman. It is just upacharyate. It is only mere vakjalam, just a play of words and nothing else. Okay. Upadhi vilayad vishnu nirvishesham vishen munihi jale jalam viyad vyomni tejas tejasi va yatha. Yallabhan. Now from this shloka, actually for I think 4 shlokas, 54, 55, 56 and 57. 58 illa. No. So there is that last padam has this refrain of Tad Brahma iti avadharayet. That should be understood as Brahman. So what is Brahman then? What is this vastu called Brahman? Tatastha lakshana mukena bhaktanam anugrahartham upadishati paramakripaluhu acharyaha. Tatastha lakshanam. Tatastha lakshanam is using some outside methodology to try to say, and it's not a swarupa lakshanam. So the difference between swarupa lakshanam and tatastha lakshanam, swarupam is that which is intrinsic definition. That which is extrinsic definition. Only when that particular work or that particular avastha, situation, deshakala comes about, then this kind of a lakshanam will fit that person. Otherwise it will not. So the best example we can give is, it is a white house. White is an intrinsic quality that is there within that house. If tomorrow I paint it, that could become an extrinsic quality also. Let's not look at that then. Okay, brick house. Brick house would be an intrinsic definition for a house. If I say it is a newly painted house. I'm going today, then yes, it will be a newly painted house. After 3 years, it will be completely gone and I wouldn't understand which house he is talking about. So that is an external definition. It won't be there always. Right? So this is something like that. Tatastha lakshana. Yallabhat na aparaha labhaha. By attaining which yat sukhat na aparam sukham, yat jnana na aparam jnanam, tad brahma iti avadharayet. These are simple shlokas because it is a kind of, we have seen these in a different manner earlier, very similar. So, yallabhat, labha, aparaha labhaha na vidyate. Only the anvaya, we have to work on this. When, upon attaining that Brahman, there is no other object that has to be attained. Aparaha labhaha nasti. There is no other gain. That itself is the gain in itself. Okay. So, yat sukhat na aparam sukham. Yat sukhat, by realizing the sukham, right, by when you realize the happiness that comes from this Brahman, there is no other sukham that you can get because that is the only vastu. Brahma ekameva vastu iti karanat, and it is the sarvotkrishtam vastu. It is the best among all of the objects that you can see. So, yallabhat aparaha labhaha na. There is no other labha, no other gain other than this. Yet sukhat, by the happiness of which there is no other happiness. Right? Yet sukhat, atma sukhat, param adhikam sukham na vidyate. There is no greater sukham. Yad jnanat yasmat jnanat, by understanding which, that is atma jnanat, aparam jnanam nasti. There is no other greater knowledge than Brahma. Tat sarvotkrishtam vastu Brahma iti avadharayet. One should understand this object as Brahman. Anena Brahmanaha tadidrisham iti vaktum ashakya rupatvat Satchidananda atmakam iti vachyatvam shate panchashanyayena manusha anandanam brahmananda antarbhutatvancha suchitam. Shate panchashanyaya. 50% of it. See, so it is Brahmanaha tati idrisham iti vaktum ashakya rupatvat. It is not possible for us to describe that Brahman is of such a form. So, Satchidanandatmakam iti vachyatvam. So, to even say that it is Sadrupa, Chidrupa, Anandarupa, what we are trying to do is, we are trying to say 50 when it is 100. So this 50 automatically is included in the 100, which is Brahman. Let's say Brahman is 100%. Purnamadav Purnavidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. If I am trying to use 3 words to explain Brahman, it is only 50% of what it is, because it is beyond this 50% word vocabulary that I have. So, shate panchashanyayena manusha anandanam brahma ananda antarbhutatvancha suchitam. So, in other words, when you are looking at the gamut of ananda, this brahmananda also seems to be something that we can probably gauge and say, yes, whatever anandam I know is within this, and I need to double it to understand what is brahmananda. Shate panchashanyayam. Interesting. So, yallabha naparo labhaha, yat sukhat naparam sukham, yad jnanat naparam jnanam, tad brahma iti avadharayet, yad drishtva na aparam drishyam, yad bhutva na punarbhavaha, yad jnatva na aparam jneyam, tad brahma iti avadharayet. So, upon seeing that, drishtva here refers to idameva aham iti swatmatvena drishtva. You don't have an object outside that can be perceived by the eye. That's not what he is talking about. Here, Anubhava Rupena, you realize that what is within you, the Atman that is within you is the same as the Parabrahma Swarupa, which is the substratum for everything, which is the Adhara for everything. So, Swatmatvena Drishtva, having seen this Brahman as Ayamaham, this is that Brahman, Tat Tvam Asi, or Aham Brahma Asmi, iti, the moment you see that, there is nothing other Vastu to be seen, because there is only one Brahman. Yad Bhutva, the moment you become that Brahman, Aparam Tucham, Yad Rupena Sthitva, the moment you attain Brahma Bhava, Na Punar Bhavaha, there is no Punar Janma. You are not born again. Yajñatva, having known that Vastu. Aparam Nyayam Vastu Nasti. There is no other object to be understood. Hence, this object, that object should be understood as Brahman. Tad Brahma iti avadharayet. Okay. So, yadrishtva etena anyat sarvam vritha pandityam iti suchitam. I like this. Anyat sarvam, everything else is just an intellectual exercise, including shastras, are just vritha pandityam. Pandityam is a scholarship which is in vain, useless, which is a failure, because you cannot explain this Brahman. You know, that is what you need to know. The yajñatva sarvam vijñatam bhavati is the Upanishad that says that. So you need to know that Vastu, which is Brahman. Okay, there are 2 more shlokas which gives us the definition in this format. We'll do that next class. Okay, any questions? Is okay?